You're listening to the RMTV podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 9 of RMTV podcast. Lads, how are we going?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate.
It's good to be back, boys.
Good to see you all again.
Mate, I'll tell you what, Roosters, Dragons, Anzac Day. I thought it was a good day. It was a great day. How did we like it?
Oh, brilliant. I mean, Benny, look, we got to honour you a bit being ex-serviceman. We got to enjoy the day, and then we got to watch the Dragons get pumped. What else do we want?
And I was the only one that tipped the Dragons, so...
Mate, if you keep tipping the losing teams, it might work for the Chooks.
Every time we've won, I've tipped the losing team. I think I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, mate, it was my first time at Allianz for Anzac Day. I've watched the Chooks and Saints at the SCG before, but wow. Just from the pre-game ceremony to obviously the game and then post-game, it was better than I expected. It was great.
Yeah, it's definitely an experience, and for any sports fans, it's something that needs to be on your bucket list. Whether you go for the Chooks and the Dragons or not, it's
Even
a
just
hot
a
ticket in
sporting
town. Yeah, it's just a big day in the city. You know, it's alive with the pubs are overflowing. There's 2-hour lineups to get in. You know, half the crowd's been on the sauce since about 6 o'clock that morning. It's just a good shout.
We'd never do that, would we, boys?
Oh, we treated ourselves responsibly, of course. You know, we are parked up at the Harbourview Hotel, had a bit of 2-up. Yeah, how'd you enjoy it, Luke?
That's it. No, it was good. I didn't play 2-up, but plenty of drinks sunk that day.
Yeah.
Luke made some memories at the Harbour View, I reckon.
Let's not talk about that.
But it's a great spot, isn't it? Like,
It is.
yeah, if
It's
you haven't
really
been
nice.
to Harbourview, it's like tucked away just right next to the bridge there.
Under the
It's
bridge,
in the
yeah.
rocks. It's
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll dive into the round that was. Jordan, mate. Doggies, Broncos. Talk about an upset.
Mate, look, one thing I do want to give a quick shout out to, Jared Sutton. Looks like he did go to FDS Eyewear during the week because, mate, I don't know what it was, but he was picking up things that he was missing the week before. So, look, Broncos got up 42-18, and to be honest, I think they figured the blueprint out on the Doggies. Thinking back on the game and, like, watching it, they were so smart. I know Preston made the error in the first set of the game, but all they were doing was going through the middle. So, Haas and Carrigan through the middle. Haas, 22 hit-ups, 255 metres, 99 post-contact. Carrigan, 20 hit-ups, 181 metres, 60 post-contact. Them two going through the middle forced the Doggies to compress their line. And the moment they compressed, Reynolds, with that kicking game to Mariner, and Montoya, to his credit, was trying to jam in and close up. But the Bulldogs just didn't decompress that line, and they took advantage of it.
Yeah, I saw one play after the game is that a few of the boys are running up the guts, and then Stephen Crichton was caught in the middle,
Yeah.
right? And then Reynolds obviously picked that out and then banged down the left edge, out the back, and they scored.
Yeah, and that was the thing, though. They compressed it so much. Like, the Doggies, their defense has been great by compressing, but they just didn't decompress it. They were so worried.
When Reynolds went off there in the second half, do you think that his kicking game is superb at the moment, and he's been held together with duct tape? Do you think they're treading a fine line, putting all their attention around Reynolds to try and produce?
100%. Like, look, one thing I will say is Reynolds is the reason they won that game, and I'm going to say that respectfully because he gave his big men the ball, made them do their job, and he worked off the back of that, like any good half. But he kicked a 40-20 early in the game that put him up there for the second try. He controlled that game like the game management and game manager we know he is. He just worked so hard at getting the little things right so that they could do that extra stuff.
Do you think the Doggies weren't environmentally prepared? Like, it was the first wet weather game for them, whereas the Donkeys had a wet weather game over in Mount Smart the week before. And it's also the Doggies' first trip on the road, first time they've left Sydney.
Look, I mean,
Wow.
I'm going to bring up last year as well because we pipped the Doggies up on the Central Coast on a very wet day. I don't think the Doggies played really good wet weather football, but I don't think it's because of anything but them being underprepared. I think the Broncos were that good. And I think because the Broncos were that good, that forced them to do stupid stuff. So, like, Marcelo Montoya is a very good winger. Like, he's one of the best wingers in the game. Any team would love to have him. But they're forcing passes out to him that are bouncing in wet weather. He can't pick them up. They're going over the sideline. Like, theoretically, if they throw those passes on his chest, he could have scored 4 or 5 tries easily.
Yeah. I think it was the loss the Dogs needed. You know, not on a big roll. Everyone starts chirping, Dogs in the grand final, this and that. So I think it was the loss they needed, and then now they're up against Titans, so see if they can bounce back. But
Well, yeah, it will be good to see how they go this week because they're playing at Suncorp again. And talking about Suncorp, the ground on Thursday night was shocking. So
Yeah, it wasn't a wet weather game. It was a monsoonal, torrential downpour. Like, it was flooding.
To be honest, it makes me happy we're playing Friday night because, I reckon by Sunday, that's going to be dangerous because you got to remember there's a women's game Thursday night into the 2 games on Friday. Like, that ground's going to be torn up like crazy because it was bad at the end of the game.
Yeah, and it's always been a concern with Suncorp. Like, we used to call it Sandcorp because, it's just a sandbox, really. And it's always had problems. It's a great stadium, but it's not one of the best well-kept turf surfaces in the comp.
Yeah.
I think they actually ripped it up after the game. And they're going to play a whole new turf. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think they need to, but...
I mean, that's probably the handy thing of having the Thursday night game, though. They've got literally until Wednesday to have it perfectly ready, and you're not really getting captain's runs or anything on it on the Thursday or through the week. No one's warming up on it because of how many games. So,
yeah, not only the ground got a hard go, but the trainer got falconed as well. Did you see
Yeah,
that?
was that a 40-20 or penalty kick?
It was a penalty kick,
penalty?
but...
Sexton's absolutely nailed this ball. And it was actually funny because I went to write something in our little chat, and Benny, you beat me to it. But, mate, credit to Sexton. He's kicked this thing about 50, 60 metres on the fly. And he has nailed the trainer in the back of the head. Like, mate, give him $1 million. You'd never be able to do it again.
I don't think it's been done before.
Look, I can be honest and say I've never seen it happen. I've seen trainers get hit by kicked balls, but not like that.
Just a question. Like, in the Donkeys dominated the first half, but they started to show, and let's be honest, like the Bulldogs played for 30 minutes of the game, they were playing with a man down. But the Doggies started to get back into it in the second half, and they had a bit more stability and a bit more structure. Like Presto said, it was a good loss for the Doggies. Would you characterise the same?
Look, I think the Doggies we saw in the second half is the Doggies we've seen for the whole game. And that's why I want to give so much credit to the Broncos and not detract from the Dogs and say that they were crap or anything, because I think the Broncos destroyed them in that first half because they just were switched on, they were ready. I think the same Broncos team came out in the second half, but a different Dogs team came out. And you could just see the way they were doing it, the way they were defending, the way they were running their lines. Everything was so different about what the Dogs were doing in that second half. They went back to doing their basic stuff and they got it right.
I think one of the big things for the Doggies, though, is that they really missed Reece Walsh. Like, it was a big loss for the Doggies.
It was really weird because, like, I saw a ball from Reynolds go out the back for that sweep play to the left side, and the fullback was actually there to catch it and not make an error. And it just confused me so much. And then I realised it's because Walsh isn't playing fullback, so it makes sense.
I think, Walsh did play his part in that game. I think post-match, he actually, put on his story, like, the score, and then he said, "Dogs are having a party." I think he did delete it shortly after.
I was going to say, I tell you what, take some balls to take a crack at the opposition when you didn't even play.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on now. Roosters Dragons at Allianz, almost pretty much packed out. Allianz. It was
just short of being packed out, 1,000 short of being packed out. But boys, Sandon bloody Smith.
What a game.
I've said it since episode 1, and I've been saying it for the last year, and especially with all this DCE stuff that's come up, right? And I've said it to you boys all. If we get DCE, if he comes to the Roosters, do not lose Sandon Smith. Your first Anzac Day game, right, is a big game for a player, right? Because it's such a big occasion. 2 tries, 1 assist, 164 run meters, 3 tackle breaks, 3 line breaks, and the greatest dummy ever when Gutho was closer to the supporting player and still took the dummy and let Sandon run the rest of the way. Like, mate, the kid was incredible, and that is why he's in that position. That's why Robbo picks him every week, and he showed it.
Unbelievable. I love him. I think he's great, and the more and more he keeps playing like that, I just don't even want DCE at the club. I hope he goes to Dolphins or someone, but I hope we just keep investing in Sando.
Yeah, I don't see DCE coming to us.
I don't want it.
I know we've spoken about this offline, off air a few times, but with the good theory of DCE coming to us, but allowing Sandon to work with Walker when Walker comes back, allowing Savala to develop as well, and I'll say this, like, allow them to do some good, but also to make some errors as well. That's the mentality of the Chooks at the moment. It showed with how they didn't buy big during the off season. That they're turning their attention to the academy and their pathways programs and fostering their own talent.
Well, it's actually funny you bring up Zavala because I think that was his best game for us. So, first NRL meet pie. Congratulations, Hugo Zavala. Like, that's an awesome thing to do, especially on Anzac Day. 26 tackles, didn't miss a single one, and made a try saver on Toby Couchman, who's a front rower, one-on-one, took him out of legs. Couchman tried to flick the ball, lost it forward. Your mate, Jack DeBellin, couldn't pick it up in time. But, mate, honestly, Zavala was huge for us. Like, he's and Robbo said this in the press conference, he's learning bit by bit, but he's doing the simple things he needs to do. He's defending well, he's kicking the ball long. That's all we need out of him.
The 1%ers, the 1% footy games.
I thought it was good, and I thought I thought Radley was great as well. I think he was just such a good link. You know, he was having a good few tough runs, but I think he was that good link between the halves, him and then Teddy out the back. Teddy had another great game.
Scored his first 2 tries of the year.
Oh, mate. And then the last try, I thought, they're going to get lefty out the back. No,
yeah,
Toops
is calling for it.
And Teddy did it himself. No, he was good. And I think even the passion, just early on, I think the ball went out or something and the boys tussled up near the fence.
Yeah,
then
Tyrell Sloan trying to be tough and ragdoll Billy Smith, and then Clemmer and Radley were getting into it.
Yeah. No, I'm really enjoying Billy Smith right now, boys. Like, I know he's been injured like the last couple of years, but this year he's really killing it. And every game it's just getting more exciting watching him play.
Yeah, I hope he stays out there and just hope he doesn't get injured again because he's had a few tough.
He's big in the centres for us. Him and Toya are dangerous.
Well, that's the thing. Him and Toops looked really dangerous together, but also Toya and Nwanga Nitawase looked awesome together. But I'm gonna ask you something, boys. And look, if I'm being absolutely dumb here, tell me. But I think I'm onto something here. That game looked more like the Bondi War than I've seen in a long time. Now, yes, we gave up 3 tries. The first one that Fainu ran the length of the field for. Look, Holmes crushed Zavala. I still think it was a borderline shoulder charge, but you know, happy to eat turf on that. Fainu runs length of the field to score. The second try was Flanagan gets over. Sandon was in the bin for that high shot. I know he did hit him in the head, but, you know, he dropped 4 foot. But, you know, all it was just Flanagan took a 2-man overlap because we had to compress our defense. We don't have a guy in the bin. That doesn't happen. And then Sloan's at the end was just, look, that was lazy defense. But
I think that was more fatigue than anything.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. It's like, especially towards the end, we were up, 24 points?
Yeah.
And our defense on that try line, we just did not give up. And that's the Bondi War we love to see.
No, the Bondi War was on display. They were just unlucky tries. They're like, we'll get back to it, kick off, we'll go again. And, yeah, look.
One of the most impressive things, though, wasn't so much just the Bondi War, but it was when a try was conceded, the immediate bounce back and getting back on the offensive. They've gone, they've shook it off, and the Roosters have gone, instead of, like, we've seen it this year, where the points start coming, and we saw it in the Panthers game, points start getting piled on, and the boys they shut down a little bit, and they they get a bit lost where they weren't. They were focused that whole time, and I think that was more impressive coming out of those, conceding those tries than anything else.
100%. And look, boys, my moment of the game, moments, Gutho.
Yeah.
Mate, was Queen Gutho ever going to make a tackle, or was he just going to fall for those dummies?
He was falling all day, mate.
Sando got him, and then Blake Steep got him. You've just been done by a forward and the 5'8", and they were impressive dives from Gutho to the player that didn't end up with the ball.
It was the icing on the cake for me. Blake Steep. I'm like, which back is that? And then it's Blake bloody Steep.
Yeah, you're looking at it going, hey, hang on, number 16. Why is a bench forward doing that?
I'm loving watching Blake Steep. He's getting better, mate, off that bench.
Yeah,
he's playing that middle role so well. But it's just... Actually, boys, I've got something... I did think of this. Question for you is, we've signed Reece Robson next year. Angus Crichton and CY Wong have been amazing on the edges. Obviously, Robson will be our hooker. You would think that means Connor Watson goes to 13. What do we do with Radley? Do we move him back to the back edge? But CY Wong's been amazing.
Yeah, I'd put Rads to the utility Connor to the utility. I'll put it out there. I think he's the new Roosters Mitch Orbison.
Yeah, okay. Put him in that 14 role and he does everything. I just look. It's something. I mean, it's a great problem to have, but I just see why Wong is playing the best football of his life since he debuted, and I think he's done a bit of middle forward, back row, but I think we finally found that offensive connection we needed with them all there. Radley's not playing 80 minutes anymore, so I know because I noticed it the last couple of weeks. Docker Clay will come on and play 9. Watson will move into the lock role while Radley has a breather, and then Radley will come back on for Docker Clay. Watson moves back to 9, and it's been great. But it's just everything clicked well for us on Friday night, and it was about time.
It was the perfect day, the icing on the cake, and not on the field, but in the stands. Luke, mate, did you hit your drum KPI this week?
Mate, I nearly broke my hand. All I heard all game was these 3 boys here, bang the drum, bang the drum. I'm surprised my hand didn't fall off, to be honest.
Just a question, boys. Was anyone in trouble for using offensive or racial language? That's what I got to ask.
Yeah, I heard about that, but yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where that came
It
from.
wasn't me either. Everyone would think it's me, but it
I do
wasn't
know
me.
the poor lady in front of you, though. Every time you banged the drum, she would just like shudder.
I felt
She was so scared.
I felt so sorry for her. I was going to apologise to her after the game, but
She
I
took off
forgot.
before you
Luke,
could.
Yeah.
Do you think you have early signs of arthritis? Because you've been banging this drum for many years now.
I think he's got a lot of experience with that motion.
And what are you going to say?
We've just had to go to MA15 plus on YouTube.
Nah, mate. I think I got a couple more years in me. It's like Tedesco, mate. Couple years left, and then we'll have to hang up the boots on the drum.
Couple, you're 25, bro.
Yeah, but mate,
If I can scream all game at 31 and still have my voice, you got no excuse.
but it's with the hands, mate. The hands don't last as long.
Just keep working them out, bro.
All right, let's we'll bounce over to the ditch now. The Warriors and Knights. So this was the Warriors' first Anzac Day win since 2014. I think a lot of Anzac Days have been, hard dump. Well, a few unlucky wins against Melbourne. So what did you take out of it, Benny?
Yeah, look, I think obviously the Wires took the game down to Christchurch as part of that, and they recommitted to another 3 years. So that's a big move. It was a sellout crowd, and we'll talk about this later in one of the segments, but it's moving the game into the South Island. It's a totally different demographic. South Island of New Zealand is very, very union. It's Christchurch is home of the Crusaders. It's it's rugby union heartland for them. So to get some good results from a crowd perspective down there was really good. From a performance perspective, I think the Wires are just doing what they're doing. There was nothing fantastic. There was nothing bad. I think it was just a good, solid game of footy.
Just done their job.
They just showed up and they played football and they got their rewards for it. The real problem, I think, out of that game though is Newcastle. Like Newcastle's very quickly heading into dangerous territory, not only on the ladder but also with the coaching. There's a bit of talk. I know the United has put up a petition online to actually have AOB sacked.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's kicking around on their social media at the moment. But I know, we've spoken about AOB's job security at the Knights in previous episodes. But I'd love to know, your boys, what's your thoughts on the attacking stats from the Knights being so poor, and what that means for the rest of the season?
Look, I got to kind of laugh at it because after they beat us at Gosford in that pre-season, everyone was bragging. And look, to be fair, I jumped on their bandwagon as well a bit of they could do some good things this year. But that big win they had round 2 up in Newcastle, I can't remember who they played in round 2. But what they were doing was they were basically separating their halves. So Fletcher Sharp was out on the left, Cogger was on the right, and Ponga was that first receiver in the middle, like you would normally have a halfback. And they were working off Ponga, and that was what was creating opportunities for them, opening them up space and all that. And then all of a sudden they've gone away from it.
But Ponga's not firing. Like
But Ponga's not getting himself involved in the game when he needs to.
Yeah, that's right. He's like what we're talking about with Reynolds. Like you said, he gets the ball, gets it to his forwards, and does good kicks and takes that pressure off. Ponga's not doing that. And
look, as a New South Welshman, keep this form, Ponga, because when you play fullback for Origin, we're going to love killing you. But I think they've gone away from what worked. And I mean, they're onto their third halves combination of the year already. Now, I understand Fletcher Sharp was injured for a little bit, so they had to take him out. But Sharp, Cogger, and Ponga worked so well through the preseason into those first couple of games. That first game against West was a bit rough. But at the end of the day, those three worked so well together. And Crossland at 9. Why would you change what's working?
yeah.
I don't know. I think they did that maybe last season or the season before, but they kept chopping and changing. Jacko Hastings was coming in and out of the team, and they had a crap year. And then I think last year they were in the 8. They made the 8
Yeah,
last
like,
year.
they made the 8, and
They just got in the 8.
yeah,
to
and
be
it was
fair.
a couple of years ago. 2023, where it came down to the round 25, or the last game of the regular season, and they were playing for a spot in the 8, and they coasted in. And it was that nervous wait to see if Canberra lost, and all the for and against come into effect. And they had that sort of similar start to the season back then, like what they've got now. But I don't see them pulling off that same sort of magical sort of run in the back end of the year.
Look, I think, and just going to say I mean, but a big part of when they made that run in, they had a bloke named Dom Young. He was doing a lot for them. Obviously, he left there. They struggled last year, and I think they struggled without his speed last year. But they've got two good wingers in Schiller and Marju, who should be doing a bit more as well.
Marju had a great game.
Marju did. Marju was probably their best.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
But it's funny enough you bring up Jackson Hastings. Mate, he's struggling to play lock in New South Wales Cup at the moment. So I think he's the most overpaid New South Wales Cup player.
Yeah, I think he's
done.
His shortcomings are more attitude than it is talent.
Yeah, I agree. Because you look at the clubs that let him go, Manly, Roosters. I know he went to the Super League and won Man of Steel over there, but he's come back and he really hasn't done much.
You've got to think, when you're going through clubs like that, it's the problem isn't the club, the problem is you.
For sure. And it's not like he's going to West when West were in a crap form. They kind of still are at the moment, but when you're getting kicked out of clubs like that because of, people just don't want you, like, what are you supposed to do? And he was a legacy at the Roosters, obviously Kevin.
Yeah.
But
he had the same issue. He had the same issues with us all those years ago.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think it'll be a tough year for the Novocastrian fans. So, Storm versus the South Sydney Rabbitohs.
Yeah, just before I jump on the Storm, and like you said, it's going to be a tough year for the Knights, but the Knights will still have 20,000 people show up. I think they've hit 35,000 members. Just shows that the Hunter Novocastrians, they love their footy.
Yeah,
some of the best fans in the club.
They do.
I'm not saying that just because I don't want to get shanked at Belmont.
He's going to go to uni tomorrow and he's going to get absolutely killed.
All right. Melbourne, they 24-16 over South, so they only just won.
Yeah, I'll give it to South. South's, I thought they were going to get pumped. After the Storms lost last week to the Dolphins, I thought, they're at home, it's Anzac Day, they're just going to absolutely annihilate the Vermin. But South's they played 80 minutes of footy. And I know this is a Mick Ennis comment, and you love saying it about the Panthers, but I think the clock beat Souths in that game. I think it was a good result.
Yeah, so that still keeps Souths winless down in Melbourne. But I think at the moment, Storm are just getting these wins. I've found a few years with Melbourne, when they start, they're just slowly getting these wins that Bellamy probably isn't happy about. And then in the back end of the season, they'll go for the charge.
Yeah.
So do you think Bellamy's a bit concerned at the moment, or is it just slowly just...
Well, he is the true super coach. And that is a question Jordan wants to ask.
Well, all right. So Souths have never won a game in Melbourne. Now, technically, they could be at like a 22-23 game loss streak, but, we won't mention Souths were kicked out of the comp. But Bennett has lost his now last 14 against Bellamy. You tell me who the super coach is out of that.
Yeah, well, we go back to when we had Chris on the show from Pass It On, and he was talking about the stat sheets. The only coach that asked for the stats on them was Bellamy.
Yeah, I think Bellamy's the best coach that's ever been. That's my opinion.
I agree. Far from one of the best I've seen. And how long's he at Melbourne for still? Another 2 years?
I think he's got options. So he's there this year, but I think at the moment he's now just year to year, and he'll basically tell Frank Passini, "Hey, I'm done," or "Hey, I want to go again."
I think he'll keep going. I
think maybe 1 or 2 more years.
He'll want to go until he wins a comp.
Yeah.
I think he's stubborn like that. He'll want to win a comp.
And this is what I've been saying all year, though. Because of last year, I think this year he's pushing for more excellence out of the team because he wants to win it this year in case he does decide to give it.
Yeah. But in that game, Jai Gray, just the Gray wall. Like, what a defensive effort.
Amazing.
Some of those try-saving efforts that he's put in there, I know at the moment, we haven't seen the count from the weekend, but he's running number 2 on the Deli M's next to Will Chambers. Will Kennedy. Just an absolute ripper of a game from him.
I think he's just trying to tell, not Bellamy, he's trying to tell Bennett he wants to be fullback.
Yeah, speaking of the fullback and Latrell's mini Manu hit, that's what I'm calling it.
Well, I can tell you now, Latrell ain't playing next week, so Gray's playing fullback next week. So Latrell comes back to fullback for one game, he gets suspended. Is that because he just ran too many meters, or like he had to put up 4 kicks? So did he do too much work this week and he thought he deserved a week off to earn his pay, or
I'm surprised he only got 1 week, to be honest. I was at the pub and I saw that shot.
Is that a 1 week with an early play, or was that?
That's 1 week with an early play? But I'll be honest, I'm actually with you, Luke. When I saw it, my head went to he's missing 2 to 3 weeks because he'd have priors.
But the prior for the same loading for that was a few years ago.
So he got done last year for it as well.
Oh, right.
For dangerous contact, because a lot of the high tackles this year are going down as dangerous contact. So they've changed. One thing I've noticed this week when I was looking at sin bins, and we'll talk about sin bins from the weekend a bit later, a lot of them what used to be like a careless high tackle, which they're still using, but they're also using dangerous contact in there as well. So I think the MRC have done something a bit different with their loadings, and that's what's maybe changed it around. But I'm with you, Luke. I thought it was going to be more than a week. I was very surprised it was only a week, but...
Is Latrell now the most sin bin player?
He is the most sin bin
So he's taken
player.
over from Victor?
He's taken over from Victor. Victor's on 10. Latrell's on 11. So, funny note, for his career, Jared Warrior-Hargreaves had 11. So, he gets one more, then everyone who wants to say Jared's a grub has to say Latrell's a grub as well.
Do you reckon it'd be coming this weekend? Oh, no, this weekend he's out, but when he comes back, you reckon he'll get another sin bin straight away?
It depends how he's feeling.
Honestly, I want to put sports bet odds on. What do you think Latrell's next sin bin will be? Will it be professional foul, like doing something stupid in the ruck?
I'd go the professional foul.
Because he's good for, like, most of his sin bins, to be fair, if you look at a lot of Latrell's sin bins, they're professional fouls when he wants to give his team a breather. He'll just stick his hand in the ruck intentionally close to the goal line. So he's always good for one of those.
Speaking of professional fouls, what about Pappy's own goal?
The greatest and worst challenge ever. That's all I'm saying on that matter.
All right, we'll dive into Cowboys and Titans now. So the Cowboys, well, they ran away with it, 50 points to 18, and I caught this one. And I'll tell you what, the winger for the Cowboys, Robert Derby, he had a stand-up performance in my eyes, 218 run meters, 4 line breaks, and 2 tries. And I think the up-and-coming chook, Reece Robson, another impressive performance out of him, and I think he's putting his resume together come Origin, because there'll be a few hookers to pick from for Daly. But yeah, I think for the Titans, for me, they just fell off a cliff. I thought they were up at 18-12 at half time.
2 weeks in a row as well.
Yeah.
If they keep, they did that a few years ago, the Titans. They go hard in the first half and they just drop. So, yeah, look, the Titans gave it a shake, and who knows what they can do against the Dogs this weekend. But what did you take out of it, lads?
Honestly, I was surprised. So I was away for the weekend, as you boys know, and I literally walked into a restaurant for dinner and Titans were up 18-12, and I'm going, oh, yeah, sweet. Come out, looked at the start of the Penrith Manly score, and I went, oh, I'll see how the Cowboys went, because I backed them, and I thought, oh, they're going to lose. And literally just stood there in disbelief when I saw 8 unanswered tries. Like,
oh, they ran away with it, yeah.
Like, did the Titans, I mean, yeah, as you said, the other year they had some issues with second halves. But
what about that forward pass, though?
I didn't see it, so I
absolute shocker. It was Chris Butler was the ref. The Titans, when they went out to 18-point lead, through probably one.
It was a hell.
Ray Charles could have seen that.
Are we talking like a Reece Walsh NFL Super Bowl pass?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh,
and that ignited the debate with my mates. It's like, should the bunker rule on forward passes? What do you think?
I think something like that. Like, if it's in that immediate play, like that was a 12. Like, yeah, they should. They have to with the technology available, the way that these decisions are getting through are being missed by the touchies. Like, well, what's the point of having a touch judge?
Well, and the thing is as well, right? Like, it's a very simple criteria for a forward pass. If the ball comes back, if they attempt to throw the ball backwards but it travels forward, it's been let go.
Yeah, there was no attempt to pass that ball backwards.
How hard is it to see? If you're in the bunker, you can watch their body and their hands go forward, right? You can see it clear as day.
I don't get it. Look, you got the touchies, you got all this technology, the bunker, and look, we're going to dive into the bunker and the refs soon, but And Penrith Manly, I was actually fortunate enough to beat this game with 12 mates. We're in a little box at Combank. Crowd wasn't that big. I think it was about 13,000 there.
Story of Penrith's time at Combank so far, isn't it?
Yeah, look, they're not getting big crowds at Combank. The Manly chant even rung through Combank. So
Yeah, I was in the Manly away bay, and mate, that was so loud. I think there was more Manly fans in the last 20 minutes than Penrith fans. They all left.
For a club that doesn't like to travel past the Harbour Bridge, Manly showed up at Combank. They went west. Manly fans went west and
good on them.
outstacked the Panthers.
They probably had to purchase a toll tag for the first time to get out.
Hey,
Western Sydney.
look, they had to wait for the Spit Bridge to come down, get across. Like, it's a lot of effort, man.
Get the visa approved.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, Manly, wow, they bounced back in great fashion. DCE played his game. His kicking game stood out for me. Ruben Garrick, mate, he runs like a forward sometimes. That
Absolutely.
bloke.
Huge.
And that's what, like, last week I said,
wow.
like, he's a shot at Origin, like, with injury cloud
smoky.
injury cloud over Lomax, whether he'll be ready in time to come into the squad.
Lomax will be out, that's for sure.
Yeah, and the one thing I picked up, Penrith, they were back to their, I guess, losing self. They pipped the win against us, Chookies, and then 11 errors Penrith had to Manly's 6. And I think, yeah, the Manly backline was impressive to me, but the guy stood out, and I rate highly, Ola Kawatu.
Oh, absolutely.
Every time he ran that edge, I'm like, here we go. And he was just, those Penrith boys was like shitting themselves.
Must have sucked to be Blaze Talungi. He's probably still having nightmares about him.
Yeah.
Cleary's probably happy he's on the other side.
Oh, the thing that stood out for me right at the end, and the icing on the cake, because I was with my mate Riley, big Manly fan. I said, they've got this now. Ola Kawatu jumps in the sky, takes it off Edwards, scores.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful. Hang it in the Louvre.
yeah, and shout out to Turbo as well. He came back after his little injury stint, and I think he really he does well for the boys.
Do you think it's put to bed any of that? Like, I know we spoke about the distraction with DCE's contract last week. Do you think that's putting some of that talk to bed with the performance the other day?
Yeah, no, I think it has. Like, the first couple of weeks are a bit rocky, but now that's like been a bit off. They're just focusing on playing and making the top 8. Finals footy, play finals footy.
Yeah, I think when they're winning, it'll be silent. When they're losing, it'll be talked about.
For sure.
That's a bit bread and butter to it. And shout out to Flaxy, mate. I've seen his TikToks and stuff. He's not,
He's hurting.
He's hurting, but you've won 4 comps, mate. The pain's here now for the Penrith boys.
Yeah, there's worse things to do in your life than lose 6 of 8, and you still won 4 comps, mate. You'll be right. It'll be okay.
And even my old man asked me last night. He said, because obviously Penrith sitting last right now, so congratulations, Penrith fans. Would there be a betting market for Penrith for the spoon at the beginning of the season? Like, how much would they be paying?
Look, 501 to 1 or 1,000 to 1 would be the odds at a minimum.
So they spoke about this on Fox League, because I know we asked the question last week or the week before about the premiership, the reigning premiers coming last. Now, excluding the Storm in 2010 due to the salary cap issues, you're going back to 1990s, back into the late 90s with the Broncos.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that the dynasty's ending, and if they win the comp, God forbid.
What do you think's been the big change? Because they've only lost, like the talent that's still in that side is going to be the bulk of the Australian team. It's going to be the bulk of the New South Wales team.
Yeah, I think.
I'd say Luai.
Yeah.
I'd say Luai's a big loss.
Yeah.
And Taruva as well on the wing.
Yeah.
I just think they've said, they've got the good crop of juniors coming through, but I think the ones playing right now, they're not your Taruvas. Obviously going to take a bit of time for these backs, but they're not showing a bit of spark at the moment. And
Do you think it's been a bit of complacency?
a bit of that, mate. I think, complacency, bit of fatigue. James Fisher-Harris, he led that pack well when he was there.
I was going to say James Fisher-Harris, but also, look, they haven't had Brian Tottle for a couple of weeks, which has hurt them because he's their big go forward out of the back. Dylan Edwards he's played like shit. Like, I understand he's out with a groin injury, but I'm yet to see one game from Dylan Edwards that shows me the form of why he played for New South Wales and Australia.
Yes, and saying that, there was a bit of comments after we picked Teddy over Edwards for New South Wales, and Laurie Daly said he's going to pick on form. So is Teddy going to be back in that squad, do you think?
Put it this way, if he picks on form, Edwards ain't even going to get close because there's about 3 guys ahead of him. And I'm saying that respectfully. Well, Teddy's the number 1 at the moment, I think.
I agree.
Number 2 would be Ryan Pappenhausen. Paps has done an amazing job this year in Melbourne. He's had a lot of injuries. He's come back well. Look, even to be fair, a Connor Tracy has outperformed Dylan Edwards this year, and I'm going to cop a lot of crap for that.
No, that's a
He
fair.
has.
That's
Even
a
a
fair
Jacob
shout.
Carraz. Jacob Carraz could go back and play fullback.
Mate, you know who could play fullback? Luca Boot, I reckon.
Luca Boot at fullback.
I reckon.
Mate, I'll tell you what, he'd probably do better than Edwards, and I'm saying that respectfully because
You're
Edwards,
fitter than Latrell, so you should give it a good shot.
mate, to be honest, there's not a lot of people that aren't,
Oh,
except for maybe you and me, Benny.
yeah. All right, well, Lukey, mate, Raiders and Dolphins down in Canberra. It was a good game. Dolphins
Yeah.
had the lead, and then they just dropped it.
Well, I was at the Coogee Bay Hotel watching Sunday's games, and Canberra, they started off a bit rocky. Full-time score, obviously 40-28. And someone that stood out to me was Hudson Young. Every week he's just turning up for the green machine.
Look, I think everyone in Canberra is showing up.
Yeah.
Like Hudson Young's been having a good season, but like just Horsburgh, Strange, Savage, like it's just an all-round like they've got they're dialed in this year. I think.
You can't pick a bad player in that squad. They're just all stepping up. Ricky's put something in the milk, and I tell you what, it's working.
Well, I'm loving watching Jamal Fogarty.
Oh,
Made 16 points yesterday. I reckon he's one of the best goal kickers this
Canberra
this year.
fans are going to cry soon, though.
yeah,
I think I was right a few weeks ago. I think he'll be going to Manly, but
because I think they came back with 2.1 over 3.
Yeah, and Canberra couldn't go beyond 2 years. Which, look, to be fair, Canberra signed Ethan Sanders for a reason, but
Yes.
that's a big loss.
you know what I like seeing? Just Ricky. I love Ricky, mate.
Yeah.
He was on the sideline and he's just up in the air, giving his hands in the air, and it's great.
One of the things I love about Ricky, there's two things I love about him. One is when he loses and his legendary post-match press conferences. But the other one is number 96. 96 player to play for the Raiders. And he wears that with a sense of pride. I know we spoke about it a while ago about like what's he got on that club. He's been there for the head coach for 13 years, had not even moderate, like low success rate. But he's green through and through. And like we were talking last week, like Canberra's a very loyal club. But yeah, I love that it's not just a coaching job for him. You can see why, like you
family.
said. Yeah.
It's his life, and I'm saying that respectfully. It's his life. He started his family in Canberra before he obviously moved up to Sydney and that with coaching the Roosters and all that out of playing. But Canberra is his life, and I'm saying that in the most respectful way because he bleeds green. He bleeds green milk.
And respectfully, if there's no rugby league in Canberra, what else are you doing down there?
Questacon's boring now. You can only go to the AIS so much.
Visit Albanese.
Wouldn't visit that South fan if my life depended on it. I mean, look, you can go to Mooseheads, but the last time a Canberra player went to Mooseheads, it didn't end up well for Whiten.
Oh, yes, Wyden and Latrell, yes.
Shout out to Mooseheads. It is a good place on a Friday, Saturday night if you've got nothing better to do.
Oh, maybe we'll go down there when...
Was it Moosehead's the one that caught on fire?
Yeah.
So there's a funny story about that. Mooseheads is very popular with... There's two types of trainees in Canberra. You've got the staff cadets and then you've got the officer cadets. The officer cadets are at ADFA and they go to... I don't know where they go, but the staff cadets is the RMC, Royal Military College bar that they go. When that caught on fire, it was known in the Middle East, in Afghanistan, before it was known around the country. There's no greater old boy network in Australia than Royal Military College, Duntrude. And when that bad boy went up, there were officers in Afghanistan going, hey, Mooseheads just went up.
So basically what I'm hearing is Moosehead is definitely on the approved list for places to visit if you're in the army.
Oh, it's an absolutely good shout, but you've got to be a staff cadet to get away with it. You know, there's a weird dynamic if you go there and you're a staff or another officer.
Yeah, we'll have to go down there when we beat Ricky's boys when that time comes.
I reckon next year we'll plan a boys trip down there.
Oh, mate, I'd
Go
love
to
to.
Questacon, go to the High Court.
I know a few good Telstra Tower.
Yeah, National Gallery.
Yeah,
Take
yeah.
Luke for a bit of culture.
Yeah.
Oh, mate. Well, I
Hey,
think,
look, we can at least go to the War Museum. That is one good place to go. So I'll give credit. That's one good place
I
to
think
go.
I'm
in Canberra.
heading down to Canberra in 2 weeks. Actually, a couple of the boys when we had the boy, they want to go see the Doggies versus Canberra match, which will be a big game.
I'd
might
back
have to,
Canberra then. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
might
head
have
down.
to seek permission from the boss about coming down with you on that one.
Oh, mate, I'll give you permission. It's all right.
For the record, everybody, Jordan's boss is behind the camera at the moment.
And I am getting death stared and daggered. But it's worth it.
But no, with that game, like Canberra were 18 points down at half time, And I was with my cousin and I said to him, I said, Canberra second half team, watch them come back. He said to me, oh, Dolphins will put 50 on them, maybe 60. I said, watch them come back. And they did. And they did it last week against Gold Coast, and they've done it again. And they're looking really good. I'm loving it.
Do you think they have enough? Do you reckon they'll beat Melbourne?
Well, that's what I was going to say next. They're playing Melbourne Sunday night. I think they'll beat them. I've tipped Melbourne, but I wouldn't be surprised if Canberra...
when we get into our tips, I've gone Raiders.
I'm leaning that way. I'm still half and half, but I'm leaning that way.
The odds are so close too.
I think probably the most impressive thing though, and like I think it's a big sign for a team is being able to get a win from a sizable margin from behind, and that was what the Raiders did. That I don't care about the win for them. Like that was impressive. That okay, we're behind. We're going in the second half. We're behind. Like how do we salvage this game? And we talk about players being able to engineer that, and that was, I think, a shortcoming with like Mitchell Pearce. He wasn't a player that would be behind and create something. Cleary does it. We saw that in the grand final a few years ago. But yeah, just all round impressive by the Raiders to pull that out.
Yeah, I think they're mentally on right now, and especially what you just said, coming from behind, getting that win. Some teams will just fold and get 60 on them. So
I think as well, like Ricky said it after Vegas, it's that little jab they need because everyone picked them to come last. So hey, let's prove these people wrong.
Yep. All right, well, like up, mate. Tigers and Sharks finish off the round.
Well, mate, what a game that was. I was going to go to that game, but because of the weather conditions, I was like, I'll stay indoors. But I had a couple mates that went, and before the game started, Galvin, he just got abused. When they read the name out on the big screen, they were just booing him.
It wasn't mixed, no cheers or boos, or was it just...
No, I just heard boos, yeah.
Ooh, Joey Shahud's story was just booze, and I was like, wow, like they were going hard at the kid, and everyone was showing up the dollar signs as well. Probably Tuapolotu was probably in the crowd doing it.
That's it. But no, they stood out. It was good seeing him set up the first try. He did a try assist, and someone that stood out for me was Billy Burns. 1 try and 1 try assist. But that was probably the game of the round, I reckon. He went to Golden Point and seeing Tyrrell.
Yeah. I disagree. I wouldn't say it was the game of the round. There were some pretty good moments across
everything.
But from a fan perspective, yeah, definitely it was a good shout.
What was your game of the round?
I'd go the Raiders Dolphins. Like, is that I think from a footy perspective, that was really like I just said, like a testament to sort of like a team's resilience and a team's ability to sort of go, you know what, we're going to win this, as opposed to sort of like, and I'm not taking anything away from the Tigers and the Sharks. They both had a ripper of a game. But I don't know, just for me, that it was the Raiders Dolphins.
Yeah, good shout.
Well, did you boys feel like something that was on my mind? In the Golden Point, I feel like they were avoiding Galvin, passing the ball to Galvin. What's your thoughts on that? Did you see the same thing?
I watched bits of it at work, and I think Galvin, like throughout the game, I thought he did well. Obviously, with all the outside noise, which what happened, but yeah, no, I think Dewey slotted the penalty goal after who took him out.
Hazelton with the strip, but I think I know the play you're talking about, Luke. Is it that field goal opportunity?
That's right, yeah, in the first half of the extra time.
I'm not going to say that was them excluding Galvin, right? If you look at how they set up for that play, Luai was meant to take that kick. He was about 32 out directly in front. Sharks' defensive line got to him so quickly he had to throw a ball out. And if you look at where Galvin was in that situation, he wasn't in a position to receive a ball and take a kick. So they had to go further out the back, which is where Dewey was to take that field goal that he missed. I think Galvin and Dewey could have been swapped. In saying that, Galvin's a young kid. Does he have the leg on him to make that sort of kick? Because, to be fair...
You want to go to a seasoned player.
Yeah.
You want to go for that experience.
That's a 45-metre field goal on an angle. Like, we saw Hines try and kick one from 50 with the breeze behind him and he hit the post.
That was so close, one.
I don't think Galvin was the right person to go to in that time, and I think that's why they didn't. Yeah. Luai had it set. They rushed him. But to Luai's credit, he went bang, crap, straight out to the person, whoever was out at the back there, which happened to be Dewey. So I don't think it was excluding Galvin. I just don't think Galvin was A, in the right position for it, or B, the person that could have done that in that.
The RMTV podcast is brought to you by FDS Eyewear. FDS Eyewear is your one-stop shop for quality, affordable eyewear. With the latest lens technology and weekly eye testing services, FTS Eyewear provides competitive rates over the larger optical retailers. Visit their store at Wentworthville Plaza, just a short drive from Parramatta.
All right, moving on into one of probably the biggest news items of the week surrounding the game, and it's got our friend a bit offset, Luke.
Oh, boys, I am Luca Boone, and I'm in a mood.
Why are you in a mood, mate?
Out. Mate, 18 sin bins. Like, come on, what is that?
Mate, we've been asking for this segment all year, and we finally got it.
It finally
got it.
came.
Finally.
And mate, all the games over the weekend, it was a joke. Honestly,
Go, mate.
these refs.
Tell him.
Tell him, mate.
Mate,
Come
Just
on,
give it to them.
Tell him, Luke. Tell him.
Mate, 4 years ago,
Yeah.
17 sin bins. I thought that was bad enough. Nah, they got to go one more, one
Yeah.
up. And it was stupid. Some of the sin bins was crazy. The Latrell one, I'll agree, because I can't stand Latrell. But like the Penrith Manly game, they tried getting the Panthers back in the game over some high tackle. Well, I don't think they were like sin bins.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, Luke. And let's out of that 18, 3 were professional fouls, correct,
Yeah.
Jordan?
3 were professional fouls, which was Paps, obviously, with his own goal. Jake Clifford, and the one on, what was the other one? Was Paul Alamotti in the Penrith game.
Yeah.
But 3 professional fouls, which means 15 were high contact of either a high tackle or shoulder charge.
And I just want to clarify, like these 15, they were the new interpretation of the high contact. They were any of them, do you think, legitimate high contact, like with the intent?
Look, based off how the NRL's been refereed the last couple of years, I would probably say out of every single one of these, maybe 3 should have been a sin bin. Maybe 3 would be my personal opinion.
Yeah, and we talked about that last week, Luke and I, and we both had opposing views on it about Schiller's sin binning. And around, I spoke about the intent. Do you see the intent in a lot of these sin bins this week, Preston?
No, not really. Like I was obviously at the Manly game, and the sin bins, I just thought they were just so soft. Like I don't know, like the one when Sorensen hit thingy. Who ran off the back fence?
Nathan Brown? No.
Nathan Brown, yeah.
And so what's Sorensen meant to do? Like seriously?
I'm actually glad you brought up the Manly game because I want to talk about Siwa Takiao's, right? Now, his was the next play after, but I watched that about 6 times, right? That contact on Isaiah Papali'i. Papali'i put the bumpers up, and I actually genuinely reckon Takiao has hit his bumpers, not his head. Because even Papali'i didn't flinch. He just went, let's go.
Oh, what was the captain's challenge as well? Well, that was in the Manly game.
That was in the there might have been one in the Manly that I missed, but there was one in the Cronulla Sharks game, in the Sharks West game, where Mulatalo got that and they tried to challenge it because they tried to give a penalty. Like, and it's going to lead into the next thing that did come in the Penrith Manly. How many players milked it openly this weekend?
Oh, mate, like you've got these big solid 120 to 130 kilo props forwards, and they're getting love taps and they're milking it. Like, have we turned into the English Premier League?
Mate, I'm telling you now, if we done that in Group 6, we would get the absolute beeswax belted out of us, and the refs would probably walk over to you laugh and go, do you want a tampon or get up?
Yeah, and throwing back to that Manly game, there was one where Belinda Sharps called a high contact. Cherry Evans has come straight in away and said, look, we're going to appeal that. And he's made I can't remember the play off the top of my head, but he's made contact on the chest. There was no pressure on, like nothing on the head. But the Panthers player is like pulling the faces, and then when the minute the whistle's blown, he's cracked a smile.
Yeah, Premier League written all over it. And it's a shame because 10 years ago, when there was a sin bin, you're like, oh my God, like what's happened? And now you just think sin bin, you're like, oh, well, it's just the game.
Funnily enough, you talk about 10 years ago. The entire 2016 NRL season, regular season and finals, had 17 sin bins.
Across the whole season.
The whole season. This is an NRL record that we've just seen of 18 in one round, which is more than an entire bloody season.
So, like, I'll ask you, Geordie, like, we're looking at, they're trying to stamp out a part of the game, like, high contact, HIAs, concussions and stuff like that. We're trying to stamp out that bit of element of the game. But this has obviously gone too far. Do you think they're, like, if a player is sin binned in those sort of circumstances, should the other player go for a HIA?
Look, you're going to have high tackles that don't always result in a HIA. I do think that we need to penalise high tackles, but that's it. That's it. There was, like I said, there was 3 incidences this week where I'd sort of go, all right, yeah, that probably should go in the bin based on what we now know around concussion and that. But I want to shout out the refs for a second because, like, Belinda Sharp copped a gobful on the weekend, and a lot of refs have. This is the bunker 9 times out of 10 making the decision. So, like, Takiawa is one to bring it back. But they're following the directive they've gotten from Volandis and Abdo. Yes, we need to protect players around head-high contact. But at the end of the day, you can't stop everything. So I'm going to put comparisons there. Latrell Mitchell's, right? He needed to go to the sin bin because it was direct, forceful contact. He launched his body.
And there was intent.
Fair enough.
There was
fair enough.
intent. He launched his body. Yes, he did have a player lose his feet and Fa'alongo went down a long way. But he launched his body. He didn't need to launch like that. Sandon Smith, high tackle, cross the nose, should have been a penalty, yes, maybe on report, but not a sin bin because at the end of the day, there was no intent to hit him high. The intent was to hit him around. Unfortunately, when someone grabs the legs, that's what's going to happen.
You know what I don't like? How the bunker's going back a few plays and looking at it. It's like, if it hasn't been picked up, just keep going. Play on.
Funny enough that you actually said that, Michael Shamus has reported that Volandis and Abdo are providing the bunker a directive unless it is a send-off offence. Now, I want to clarify it more and see what's said about it. But to me, it means it must be a send-off, and I mean, someone's looking at 3 to 4 weeks suspension.
Like a Suwali on Walsh.
That they are going to be told, do not go back to it. So if it's like Takiao's, leave it. Put him on report if you must. Let the match review committee deal with it, but do not go back to it because even that's been inconsistent this year.
It was with us a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? Against Panthers last week, I think.
They came back and wouldn't give us a penalty from a set earlier, and Penrith had the ball, and it was literally on their 1 metre line.
Yeah, and it changed the dynamic because it was the fourth. That was on the fourth tackle inside the Panthers 20.
Yeah,
and that would have completely changed the fifth tackle option that we would have put. And if they were player down, you could expect that to result in points.
Correct, yeah. And that's the thing, when it's so inconsistent, I think that's the biggest frustration from fans. And
the consistency.
Yeah, be consistent. Like, if you're going to sin bin every high contact, that's fine. But you got to be prepared that you're going to have games where it's 9 on 10.
I want to know if you boys agree with me. One thing that's pissing me off right now is mainly fullbacks, like back players, just dropping down and like getting tackled like at chest level, and it's a penalty. Like, what are they
like kind of
supposed to
falling
do?
a bit and then they get
like,
clipped.
I know Teddy does it a lot.
I don't. Let's have a look at the. There's a thing in law called causation, and let's have a look at the causation for a lot of this stuff. Like that's where one element leads to the next and creates those events. Like let's have a look at let's have a look at the quality of the turf. Like we've seen turf flying up and players losing their footing, going down. You're looking at where hands are trying to affect a tackle where, like I said last week, if they don't put their arm out, they're going to get done for a shoulder charge. There's all these different elements that go into that. And I think, it's a physical contact sport at speed. So that's the law of physics. Something is going to go wrong.
Look, accidents happen. That's the way I see it.
And look, I'm not going to solve the world's problem, and the NRL probably aren't going to give two craps about what I say, but I have a simple thought process to it all. If a guy gets tackled around the legs, in that split second when he's fallen and he gets hit in the head, right, you've got to go penalty on report because it is high contact, right? But one thing that pisses me off is when they genuinely drop to their knees. So there was a play, I can't remember what game it was, but it was this weekend, and a player went from being, 6'2", and dropped to their knees as they made a pass and they got taken out. No one calls them to drop to the knees. They chose to do it.
Yeah,
in that situation, you cannot penalise the guy coming in, and you definitely can't put him in the bin.
Yeah, and you go back to when when the Roosters played the Panthers and Fekete got sent off. Yeah, what's he supposed to do? Like, is he supposed to just disappear? Arms supposed to just disappear?
And that's the thing, right? Like, look, we see a lot of things, and the bunker looks at a lot of things in slow-mo. But at the end of the day, that slow-mo that they see 3 or 4 frames, that's that. You cannot physically change your body position in that situation, especially when you're trying to wrap up the ball.
Yeah, and like you said, like in slow-mo, like both of us have having gone through law school. Like the longer you look at a matter, the more you start to pick it apart, and that's what they do with in slow mo. They start to find infringements because that's what they're looking for. Whereas at speed, like and I keep coming back to the word intent. The intent comes out of it.
Yeah. And, like, look, to be honest, no one knows what low or moderate force is anymore because I don't think they know when they're telling us. They're just throwing the word out and hoping for the best.
I think they're getting confused themselves.
Yeah.
And another thing, tell you what, your mate, Joey Johns, he went off his head over the weekend.
Rightfully so,
break.
though. Rightfully so. And this is what I'm saying. Like, when you get guys who are getting tackled around the legs and a guy's copping them in the chin, you can't do anything.
Do you think, like, someone like Joey, obviously an immortal of the game, his words, like, have an impact on, like, Volandis and think, all right, maybe we do have to look at this?
Yeah, I think the RLPA needs to speak up.
Yeah.
I think, and the RLPA will be the best body to advocate this on behalf of the players because they will know what is in the best interests of the health and well-being of players, but also preserving the quality of the game that the players want to obviously play, that they want to get paid for. And as we as spectators who fork out the money that obviously contributes to their salaries, expect to see each week.
I think the hard thing is, though, like, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, I'll never watch a game anymore. But we're getting record numbers still. And people are coming, and maybe, look, more families are coming because they're not seeing that. But at the end of the day, it's a gladiatorial sport. You've got to understand, as you said, Benny, accidents are going to happen. There's a lot of these, there's no intent in them. It's just someone slipped, someone's dropped, someone's just fallen.
Like, this is in response to HIAs. Are they going to then, go the other way and get more attention on MCLs? Because MCLs is the trend this year, and are tackling low and leading tackles into what's hip drops and all that debacle. Like, where does it stop?
If I ask you boys what's a hip drop, can you tell me?
I still don't know till this day. I still don't know how to answer that.
Well, it changes every week.
Because it's so inconsistent with it, you do have to ask, like, what is a hip drop?
And the reason I ask you that question is severely because do you know what low or moderate force is in a high tackle? Do you know what intent is? Because we can have our interpretation as fans, but it seems to change every week in the NRL. Like, what are we meant to do? Like, how?
I guess we'll just keep turning up and we'll see what happens, lads?
They might figure it out eventually.
Yeah. All right, well, let's take another turn here. Let's go over to England now. Geordie, mate, want to take it away?
Mate, this has been a topic for a bit. Obviously, we spoke about the HIA, the high tackle topic, but there was a news article a couple of weeks ago about should the NRL buy the ESL, the English Super League, and that's been going for a while. So, look, I want to give you guys some background on this at the moment so you guys can understand the position that the Super League's in and the position the NRL's in.
Yep.
So, this is off the 2024 season. The NRL operation surplus was $62.3 million. It's the most successful year the NRL's ever had. The TV viewership was $200.5 million and total attendance 4.79 million. That's incredible. People are coming back to the footy coming out of COVID and that. It's brilliant. Things in the Super League are not as pretty as it looks. So there was only 3 clubs that actually made a profit in the Super League as of the 2024 season. So Huddersfield Giants, they made a profit. Now, I'll give you both the pounds and the Aussie because I like to give you both because it makes me sound smart.
Yep.
But £3,273,812, which equates to $6.821 million Aussie and a half. However, they owe external creditors £19.3 million, which is about just over 40 million Aussie. Lee Leopards turned a profit of 2.165 million, which is about 4.5 mil Aussie. And Wakefield Trinity were just under 1.5 in pounds, which is about 310 million, 3,110,000 Aussie. So Wigan and St Helens are probably the 2 most popular, and I've pinpointed St Helens here for a reason. They at one point were the most successful club. They were the Roosters of the ESL. They posted a loss of $2.2 million in of last year, which is over 4.5 mil in Aussie. So they're not making a lot of money over there. They're losing a lot. 3 out of 10 clubs a profit, and one of those clubs still owes 40 million in creditors. But the thing that surprised me, we're having a look at this. There's 311 guys who have played in the Super League this year that have made at least a one-game appearance. 81 of them have NRL experience. Now, there's a couple like your George Williams, your Elliot Whiteheads that started in the ESL, came over and they've gone back. There's guys that started here and went there like Luke Keary's, JWH's. But 26% of the Super League is by players who have played in the NRL at some point in their career. So that leads into, should the NRL just buy the ESL as an investment and see what they can do with it? Like, is that financially, is that a great thing? But then also for the development of the game, is that a good thing?
I'll start off, and I'll put my commercial hat on from when I worked in Clubland. A little bit of a throwback. Before COVID, the NRL wasn't in a good spot either. I think 11 clubs are struggling to turn a profit, and sport in general in, I'd say, Australia, New Zealand, can't speak for the UK or Europe or the US, but for us, there was a sporting global financial crisis sort of coming. And so this is before COVID's happened. And we saw big things like companies pulling out of sponsorship deals, like Qantas pulled out of a 30-year partnership worth $30 million a year from the Wallabies and left a big gap for them. So there was what the Super League's going through at the moment in the UK. We've gone through that in the past, and I don't think it's very well known amongst the general fans. I know through the corporate sponsors and those who've worked in Clubland know how dicey it got. And I don't want to be biased. I don't want to sing his praises just because I'm a Roosters fan. But Nick Politis has played a big role in staving off a lot of that here in Australia. Not just with the Roosters, but his investments in Queensland in supporting the Broncos and the Titans. And then the financial and other support services he's offered to other clubs. And that ties into what PVL's done as well. Like, I think the NRL would be in the same spot as the ESL is now if it wasn't for PVL coming in.
Big core.
Okay. Well, and it's actually funny that I just want to mention a bit on Politis there. A lot of people forget that. He doesn't own just the Roosters, and I say own, but he's the chairman of the board of directors. But he does own some shares in the Broncos, in the Raiders. He did help the Titans. Sunshine Frizzell Automotive.
Yeah, he owns...
He's a part owner of that.
A part owner of that. He's bailed out the Broncos. He gave them an $11 million loan.
Yeah, he was one of the big figures behind getting South back in the league. Apparently, he's a big part of the Bears going to WA.
He is.
So, like, I think a lot of people underestimate how much Politis has done for rugby league. But
I love educating Souths fans on that when they learn that Politis is one of the key financial reasons. Because he's the one that got Packer and Russell Crowe to the table to throw the money in.
It's funny, you said to Souths fans, like, oh, who saved you guys? Oh, Packer and Holmes of Court and all that. I was like, mate, first of all, Holmes of Court was the one that killed yous. And second thing, Politis got them boys in that position, and he helped. So just remember, every time you play a game, you can thank the Roosters.
There's one thing I'll say just before I let you boys jump in on the other part. One of the things that I just loved about working in Clubland and makes me love rugby league is that despite the rivalry between teams, all the chief commercial officers or chief operating officers, they have this mantra of what's good for one club is good for rugby league. And they all, yes, they've got their commercial targets and there's that competitive spirit in the commercial world, but they all know that if the Titans are doing well commercially, it means that NRL's doing well commercially.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I reckon Uncle Nick just loves the game of rugby league. And now you've seen, obviously, over in the States, what he's doing with the LA Roosters. He's trying to get the game up there. So I think Uncle Nick could be a good figurehead to really relaunch the Super League in England.
I think the two people to send over the Super League to fix what's going on over there would be Nick Politis and Gus Gould.
Yeah. Gus cops a lot of crap for Penrith, but I think he's proof of it.
And what you said earlier, I saw an article that him and Wayne, him as in Uncle Nick and Wayne Bennett had a big part to play in the Bears coming back to the comp. But what do you reckon, Luke?
No, honestly, I think the NRL have to jump in and aim to stabilise the Super League with the loss that's happening. And the reason I say that is because what they've done with going to Vegas and expanding it in the US, it's getting bigger each year.
Do you think they should do a Magic Round type of thing over in England? Like have it at...
Well, they already do. That's where the concept came from.
Yeah, we actually stole it off England.
Yeah, do you think maybe the NRL should go over there instead of Vegas one year? Try and relaunch
Oh,
it
like
in
send a
England?
full NRL round over
Yeah.
there.
And we've done something similar in the past. Like we've sent when the club challenge is on, we've sent 2 teams over. It's happened in the past where there will be the club challenge and there will be the opener for that will be another team from the NRL. But Luke and Preston, I'll ask you this one: if the NRL should the NRL stay focused on just like Australasia and developing the game here in New Zealand and Pacifica, as opposed to getting involved in the ASL?
Well, I think you got to think long term, right? So if you're seeing like the Pacifica, some kids might grow up wanting to play your union or your league, right? You're going to invest in those islands, your Fijis, Tongas, Samoas, New Zealand and stuff, right? Perhaps in England, the kids might be growing up, and even here now playing soccer. Maybe their parents don't want them to play league. So I think they got to go grassroots in England. I think they got to go to schools over in England, introduce the game. Because a lot of kids over there love their football.
Because, like you're touching on that, introducing the game, Jordan, it's league in the UK is not a first or second tier sport, is it?
No, mate, it's third, fourth tier. And it's actually funny you talk about getting into the grassroots, because one of my earliest memories of me getting into footy was the old Kids to Kangaroos program that the NRL used to run.
I remember that. That was good.
Yeah, but that thing was excellent. Like, they'd come to the schools, they'd do programs at the schools, they'd do holiday clinics. I remember, because I grew up obviously out Campbelltown way, you'd go to Campbelltown Stadium and they'd bring a couple of Tigers boys in and you'd do things on Campbelltown Stadium, so you felt that presence.
I still remember the North Sydney Bears coming to my school, and unfortunately one of the players that came has had a pretty rough end to his career and life after that, but Brett Dallas, at the time was an Origin player, and that's stuck with me to this day.
I think that's the thing they got to do. And, obviously Super League don't have those big stand-up players, but if they had superstars rocking up to these schools, kids might look up to them and say, look, I want to play footy now. I want to get involved. I don't know how big the junior leagues are over there, but I think they should invest in it.
It's funny you say that. You talk about they're not real big names. Like, you look at Lewis Dodd, he was a massive superstar in England for league anyway. But then you look, Paul Vaughan's, Jared Rea-Hargreaves, Luke Keary's, Brodie Croft, Bevan French. Bevan French is a household name.
as well.
Rapina's over there playing for Hull. Like, they have household names from Australia over there playing, and people in England don't know who they are.
So, and one of the things, if you have a look at the current squads in the ESL, there's a lot of players coming out of PNG. Now, how is with PNG coming into the competition in the next several years? Is that another kick in the guts for the ESL?
Well, so that's actually going to lead to another question I was going to have for you boys is, let's say the NRL does buy the ESL and they try to, whatever they do, whether they make it like link a club to a club sort of thing, something like that. PNG's on talks as a possible expansion, because obviously we've heard the news that potentially the Bears are going to be the 18th. That looks like that will get signed off on. But then Philandis and Abdo were talking about going to 20 teams, and PNG's probably going to be one of them. So guys like your Nene McDonald's, who's over there at the moment, does that bring him back? Do PNG, those Brodie Crofts and Bevan Frenches stay in the NRL?
Because they have that, over in the ESL, like in the soccer over there, they have the loan scheme.
Yeah.
And we tried that a little bit during COVID.
Harry Grant went to the Tigers.
Yeah, and Momorowski did a couple of swaps around as well.
Yep.
Would, like a partnership, like let's take the Roosters, for example, and go Hull Kingston Rovers. Or no,
Catalans.
We'll go Catalans, yeah, because that is
that seems to be our spiritual home over there.
Yeah. Like if, say, like Dom Young's not getting game time here in first grade, do we punt him over to Catalans for a month and then come back, or for half a season, or?
Well, so it's funny you say that. Sorry, look, I'm going to jump in quickly. Adrian Morley was on Late Night with Matty Johns, Sunday Night with Matty Johns a couple of weeks ago, and he actually spoke about that, because over there, their rugby league is a summer sport. And that's what used to happen. You used to get Aussie guys would finish up their season, go over there, play a bit, or others before, whatever it worked out to be, but would, get their work in. And then the Poms would do the same thing. ESL guys would come over and do a bit in the NRL, whether it just be pre-season. Yeah. Things like that. I'm not saying Dom Young should get punted to Catalans, but, he goes over there, he kills it. That brings confidence up. You come back and you could be a different player.
I like the idea, honestly, I do, but I just don't think the NRL will ever allow that properly into the game.
Yeah, I think whatever the NRL decides to do, whether it gets a controlling stake or significantly invest in the ESL, I'm happy for that as long as the priority will always be the domestic game here.
100%.
I think our attention in terms of expansion is getting the Bears back into the competition, which looks like that's going to happen. I'm not going to say that has happened. It's happened, and it's not happened, and it's has happened for the last 30 years of my life. But I think for, like we're talking about the Warriors going down to Christchurch over the weekend, investment in another team in New Zealand operating out of the South Island, getting a Pacifica team involved, and obviously there's the political element of getting a team out of PNG as well. But, PNG are absolute bonkers for rugby league, and they play in the Intrust Super Cup. So,
you go, Luke.
One thing I like about what the Super League do, which I want to ask you boys, the relegation period and the promotion and relegation. What's your thoughts on the rugby league doing that? Do you like that or
Look,
not?
as long as you're not a West Tigers fan, because I'll be honest, and I'm going to quote, this is a direct quote from a West Tigers fan, a mate of mine, Justin, who turned around and said, I'll have to find the message, but I think paraphrasing is, if they had that here, we'd be in Z grade. And I understand what he's mean. He's not trying to be mean, but he's right. Like, West for 3 years were wooden spooners. They're getting relegated every year.
They'd be gone.
But could you imagine if a Melbourne or a Roosters or someone like that got relegated?
Yeah, like Luke's talked, there's 10 teams, I think, in the...
Yeah.
10 teams in the first, in the Super League. Then you drop down to champions, and there's a lot of other teams that are in there. Like, you've got Bradford Bulls, who Moz played for. There's the Toronto Wolfpack, which is the team Sonny Bill went over to in Canada.
I think Salford's down there as well. They're a huge club.
Yeah, London Broncos. There's heaps of other clubs. I don't think we have the talent pool, and I don't think we have the facilities. I know talking about stadium facilities at the moment is a sore point for the potential tenants of Allianz that the Roosters will lease Allianz Stadium to. But yeah, I don't think we're structured enough for a relegation system. I know they've thrown around the idea of conferences as well, similar to the way that it's structured in the NFL in the United States, but I don't think we're there yet.
I think it's a real English thing. You see it in the Premier League, that relegation type of thing. And, yeah, I don't think it would happen here. There'll always be talks about it. But, yeah, I think they'll stick to what they know. And, obviously, if the 20 teams come in, I heard Bellamy say the other week in a presser that he fears there might not be enough players to fill up these 20 teams.
Well, that's the thing, right?
That's the concern.
Like, I'm going to use Brodie Croft and Bevan French as an example, right? They were average to below average NRL players. They're playing a lot of New South Wales Cup, playing a little bit of NRL. They're winning the Man of Steel award over there, which is their Dally M. So Jackson Hastings, another one, won the Man of Steel award. So if you're going over to England and winning a Man of Steel award, but you can barely crack an NRL team, what's it going to be like?
Ryan Hall's a good example. I know he came to us busted after
I would say his were more injuries though than anything else.
But he just, when he was back up and running, he played bulk of his career for the Bears.
Yeah, that's true.
Ryan Hall at the Chooks, it really hurt me. Like, he almost had a try, and then they took it off him. It's like, he scored the most tries in England and couldn't even get one here. It just shows...
But then the reaction from the boys to jump all on him, and then
he
they
was
goes
so
up to
excited.
the bunker, and you just see the look on his face. I feel so sorry for
I think the hard part for that as well was that was the night Matty Cavalli broke the record, and after Hall's try got denied, he picked up his fifth?
Yeah, he scored 5. He wasn't even meant to start that night. Morris
Against
was
Cowboys?
Injured. Yeah,
Remember
I
that
think it was
one?
up in Queensland, North Queensland as well.
No, I'll ask you, Lukey, mate. You used to play rugby league back in your day. Do you think you could get a Man of Steel? You reckon they're pretty easy to pick up?
Man of falafel?
Man of the snack packs.
I haven't played league in a long time, but mate, if I didn't stop playing all those years ago, I reckon I could give it a go.
Be over in England?
Man
Or
of
you'd
the
be playing for the Chookies?
Man of the unsourced hot dog.
The RMTV podcast is brought to you by The Legal Problem Solver. The team brings over 25 years of experience in wills, probate, estates, conveyancing, property and commercial law. Connect with The Legal Problem Solver on LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram.
All right, now we're looking towards round 9, Magic Round, lads. So it's gonna be kicked off with the Women's State of Origin at Suncorp. What are we thinking about that one?
Look, I think it's great that the NRLW Origin series is now a standalone series. They've got, and it's a complete series. They're not going off aggregate, which I know really pissed off the girls a couple of years ago. But no, it's good to see that there's like attention growing in. Like, they're getting the crowds, like there's the hype around it, and it's just good for footy.
And look, quick shout out to Abby Church. She's making a debut for the Blues, but ex-Rams girl, well, current Rams girl, but she's been playing for Para in the NRLW. So nice little shout out to see someone, I've seen play out at Camden go up. But it should be a good game. Like there's a few players out, like your Millie Elliott's and that. Obviously she's pregnant, so she can't play. But it's good to see, some big names being there, and it's going to be solid squads.
Yeah, it'll be good. Hopefully they get a good crowd there. And I know you and I will be back in the Blues against you Queenslanders. But
Bloody cane toads.
And then, the next day you boys are going to fly up for Magic Round. So,
Yeah, so
is they going to meet lads?
Yeah, during that Origin match on Thursday, we'll be on a plane flying up. So, no, it's my 4th Magic Round in a row. So it's good. Jordan's first.
You're a show off, mate. It's my first time to Suncorp. I'm finally getting up there. I can tick it off the bucket list. It's not a Game 3 Origin like I'd love to do, but mate, I'm so keen just for the whole event, for the circus that it is in a good way. But
Yeah, it's a real festival, isn't it?
yeah, festival, that's the word. I probably shouldn't
Yeah.
call it a circus. The rest might make
Oh,
it
it's a
circus.
bit of a circus sometimes.
Oh, mate, I think it will be a circus with me and Luke's plans.
And the rugby league gods are on our side. I checked the weather's good this weekend in Brizzy
Mate,
compared
it's
to last
Queensland, mate.
weekend.
She turns it on when she needs
So
to.
it's
That's
beautiful one day and shit the next.
Yeah.
That's
So
it.
you're going to take the drum up, of course?
Yeah, so Jom's coming up. Last time we went there, you were with me. They had a bit of a complaint, so
Yeah.
hopefully the Dolphins fans
Yeah.
don't have a cry as much.
Good luck complaining to me about it. I'll tell them where to
Going
stick
up
it.
for Magic Round's not the only thing you boys are doing up there. You're repping the show at a Pass It On clothing event.
Yeah, shout out to Chris. He's got a Pass It On clothing event happening at the Port Office Hotel on the Friday. So Luke and I are going to go along. Support, obviously, he's a big fan of the show and he supports us. So we want to show him that love and respect. And, the work they do is amazing. So good to get there. It's a bit of a fundraiser for them. So
Yeah, good couple of big names coming along to it.
yeah, what do you say? Jimmy Maloney was going to be up there.
Darius Boyd.
Darius
I think
Boyd
he
was
said,
there. I
yeah.
think Dallas Johnson was up there as well.
Yeah, Pierce and Carney. I
Pierce
think,
and Carney were
possibly.
making an appearance.
I'm really excited for this event. Yeah,
Look, it's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great start to our Friday in terms of, lunchtime Friday, start preparing ourselves for the footy and just celebrating a great event.
I've done a
It's gotta
couple
be-
of long lunches with Pass It On in the past. And yeah, they go well.
Do you pass out from Pass It On or?
No, like, they used to do a 150 cutlet lunch, and you'd get like Willie Mason come along to it, and you sit there sinking beer all day, just listen to the good old footy yarns. It's
Oh
beautiful.
no! How will I survive that?
Yeah, you two, you'll look forward to it, and it'll be a good networking session for the
Yeah.
TV. So,
Yeah.
Lukey, mate, Sharks, Eels to kick off Magic Round. Now, Sharks did $1.47 coming off that loss against the Tigers. Para, $2.69. What are you thinking?
Mate, I know Para coming off the bye, but I think it's going to be a close game. But I think Cronulla will win after their loss on Sunday. I think they'll come out strong, and yeah, they'll put it on Para.
I'm going to go Para. What are you boys going to go?
I've gone the Sharkies.
Sharkies,
I
yeah.
think they're going to be a bit hungry after yesterday.
Yeah, I'm going Sharkies. I think they're going to try and put a number on to prove a point.
All right. And now, Chookies up against Dolphins. Now, the bookies can't split it. $1.89 for the Chooks, $1.95 for the Dolphins. What are we thinking?
I think it's gonna it's gonna be a very close game.
You finally going to back you boys?
Nah. As much as I
Keep
want
doing it because it's
I
paying
mean,
off.
yeah, hopefully,
works.
hopefully it works. But honestly, I've tipped the Dolphins, and the reason why is because even after I lost yesterday, Isaiah Katoa, he's been killing it lately in the
Yeah,
half.
they're still a volatile team.
Yeah, him and Nicarima. Like Nicarima came off the sin bin and he put a try assist straight away. I think it's gonna be a close game, but I think they'll win 1-12.
You know what, Jordan? Tell him he doesn't need the drum. He needs one of those fins on his head. If you're going to be back in the fins.
Mate, I tell you what, I was talking to a few of the blokes I work with who live up that way, and they said they'll happily give me a fin. I said, if you give me a fin, I'm going to burn it.
We're in this beautiful man cave thanks to FDS Eyewear. So let's deck it out. Try and bag as much random paraphernalia over the weekend as you boys can get.
Well, what sort of paraphernalia do you want, Benny?
Well, not the blow up dolls that are going to be at the luncheon, but
I have seen a photo of that. That does look good.
yeah, but definitely like some of the
Find some Magic Round gear for you, I reckon.
No,
Bring
then
a nice
it'll be-
footy back to sit.
yeah, that'll be good.
Can join Piggy in the
Yeah,
middle.
we would love a good fin, I think.
So who you going to back, Benny? You going to back the boys?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight one. I think the boys did a good shout against the Dragons, but it will be close. I reckon Roosters 1-12.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the same.
I'm backing the same as long as our defense shows up. If our defense shows up, we've got a good chance. of
Defense and Savala's kicking game, and we're on.
I think
Yeah.
back-to-back wins, Bondi War.
starts out. Gives us 2 wins before the bye.
Yeah. All right, Geordie, mate. Souths versus Newey. Souths $1.68. Newcastle $2.26.
This actually hurt me to do this, but I'm back in the Vermin. I'm back in South. Look, I actually think Jai Gray to fullback, because Latrell's going to be missing a week, will actually mean that they're a better team.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it'll be Lewis Dodd coming into the halves because obviously Walker's still out, Humphreys is still out. But I just genuinely think they're going to be a better team with Gray at fullback, and I think they're going to get up over the Knights. I think they're going to do it comfortable. I do think it's going to be a high scoring though, because I think the Knights are going to put some points on, but South will as well.
I'd go against that. I think it's going to be Vermin 13 plus.
I'm not saying they're not going to win 13 plus. I'm just saying
high-scoring
it's
game.
going to be like a
yeah,
60-point game.
Yeah, I don't see the Knights attack at the moment doing that. They didn't score points for I think how many minutes?
It was 168 or something like that.
Then they put six, and both were last minute, and then they scraped 12 against the Wars. So.
I just have a feeling that it's going to happen, but the problem is South's are going to get them by more.
Yeah.
All right. Warriors, Cowboys. Warriors here $2.01. Cowboys $1.82.
Look, after the way the Cowboys came back in that second half last week, I think it's hard to go against them. Waz did have that massive Magic Round win against the Panthers last year.
Yeah, that was good.
Which everyone in the world loved. But I just think the Cowboys are starting to find that rhythm. So I think, safe bet is 1-12 on them because the Waz won't give up.
Yeah. Who you backing, Lukey?
I've tipped the Wars. At the start of the season, I said Cowboys to make the top 4, and it will be a close game. It won't, like, the odds in this game is like $1.82 to $2.01. But I think the Wars at home, it's like a big home ground advantage. I think they'll get up. Like I said, 1-12 will be a close game. But both teams are looking good right now.
It's more of a home game for the Cowboys. So, and I feel like Cowboys 1-12.
All right. Yeah. Cool. I'm gonna go. Yeah, Cowboys 13 plus. All right, and now we go Tigers, Dragons. Tigers, $2.01. Dragons $1.82, surprisingly. I thought Tigers would be favourites here. I'm going to go Tigers. I'm going to go Tigers 13 plus. What are you going to go, Benny?
Yeah, I'd go West 13 plus.
I've actually gone West 1-12. I reckon Flanagan's going to put a rocket up. I mean, you could hear that in that press conference. It was like a parent. I'm not angry. I'm disappointed, even though he's probably talking about his son.
No Maccas on the way home tonight.
Also, shout out to Kyle Flanagan. The amount of jokes I made to him and crap I spoke to him about Daddy's not going to save you, and he didn't say a word back, so good on him. But yeah, I think West are going to get up there, but I think it's going to be a bit tighter than people think.
And Titans, Doggies. I'm going to go Doggies here, but I reckon Titans might shake them.
The Titans gave him a good run at the back at Belmore. Like, that was an impressive little surge that they did there at the end. I think what was a 16-point margin at the end, 40-24. Belmore's quite intimidating, and the Titans showed up at the back up. So yeah, I'd back that.
Yeah, now I've tipped the Doggies, but same thing. Like in my tipping comp, I got a knockout round, and I'm not even comfortable to put Doggies to win.
I have a weird feeling.
Yeah. Look, I've gone Doggies as well, but no Satili Tupanua, no Josh Curran, no Matt Burton. It might be 2 in a row for the Doggies in losses, but
Yeah.
I've backed them for now.
If you're fancy on tipping Titans, they're paying $4.10. So.
Yeah, I'm going Doggies 1-12. I think, like what Jordan said, the Doggies have lost a few key players, but let's test the Doggies' mettle this season and see what their depth's like and how they respond to something after a big loss and then after losing players.
All right, Benny. Penrith, $2.22, and the Broncos, $1.67. What are you
I'm going Donkeys 13 plus.
Oh.
It's the Cauldron. It's at home. It's going to be a Sunday afternoon. It's going to, I know the Broncos don't play well in sunlight, but it's the atmosphere is going to be right. I think it will be a good shout, and I think where the Panthers are at the moment, them beating the Roosters a couple of weeks ago, I think was assisted by external factors, and that was shown against the Manly. So I wouldn't be saying the Panthers are back. I know they got a little bit excited after the Roosters game, but I think after the showing against the Bulldogs, the Donkeys are going to do a good shout.
Yeah, I reckon Madge is going to put a big rocket up them. And Benny, Melbourne and Raiders to finish off the round. Melbourne $1.51 and Raiders $2.57. Good money there for the Raiders.
I've changed my mind a little bit on this one, but I'm going to settle. I'm going to go Raiders 1-12.
Ooh, all right.
I think they're going to have a lot of confidence after that. Like I said earlier in the show, pulling himself out of that hole against the Dolphins on the weekend. I think that's going to give them a big energy boost, a big morale boost, give them some confidence, back their players. And like we've said, they've got some good talent this year. I reckon they can do it.
Do you reckon, Geordie?
Oh, look, I'll be honest. I'm not set either way. I've gone Raiders. Only reason being, I think Storm are really missing Harry Grant still.
They are, aren't they?
And I think that was a big thing. Like, look, to be fair, Bronson Garlick, he's a great backup hooker, but they're missing Grant at the moment. Hughes is playing injured, so Munster and Pappy are going to have to load it.
Still...
Nas may be back this week, which if Nas is back, and look, for those watching at home, we are filming this obviously before the team list come out, but Nas back, it does make a difference, but Kamakamika should be there. Stefano
Ukudomaru?
Yeah. Thanks, Presto. Thanks for the save. I think it's going to be a great battle of forwards. I'm actually really excited for that game.
Yeah, and I'm listening. Like they've got the talent on paper, they've got the talent, but just the showing against Souths, I thought I was expecting a bit more of them. And that's why it got me going. Oh, I think the momentum's going the other way.
I agree.
I have to go with the Storm. Like you boys said, it's going to be a close game, but I think Storm, like, if they get Nelson back, they'll be looking good on Sunday night.
Yeah.
So I'm tipping them 1-12.
I'll back you too, Lukey. I'm going to go Melbourne by Ryan Pappenhausen field goal.
Oi.
Well,
Mate, can you stop going by field goals? Because it seems like every time you do, the player gets hurt. Can
Well,
you stop
no,
trying to help hurt Pappy? Oh, no, it's DC. He didn't get hurt the other week.
Yeah,
You're right there.
I don't know, mate. My prediction might come right one day, so...
Keep going till they get it right.
There we go.
All right, lads. Well, enjoy your time at Magic Round, and we'll be back in the Chooks in Sydney. But yeah, all right, guys. Like, follow, and subscribe. From all of us here at RMTV, it's goodbye.
See you guys.
Adios.